In this video, we're going to look at presentations. What are the elements of a good presentation? Well, you need to have something interesting to say. If you don't, it's not going to be a good presentation, no matter how well you present it. You need to present it well, and you need to have some kind of connection between the audience and the speaker. And this is easiest to establish in a live setting where you're in the same room with the audience. And you need to connect with the audience by looking at them, by smiling at them, by considering their mood, and by talking about something which interests them. So you need to think about the content. What are you going to say? You need to think about the structure of your presentation so it's clear to your audience where you are in your presentation and where you're going. You need to signpost the direction your argument is following, and you need to be able to emphasize, using your voice, the key points. Your delivery needs to be interesting so that the audience doesn't fall asleep or get bored or start thinking about something else or start checking their phones. Let's look at preparing presentations. So we need to be interesting, have something interesting to say, and say it well. So we can consider 3 W's. Why are we presenting? What's in it for the audience? What's in it for us? What is our message? What are we going to say? And who are we talking to? Who is the audience? And is the audience the right audience for what we're going to say? We can think of the structure of presentations like this. We start with a bang, something interesting, a hook, something to grab the audience's attention. Then we introduce what we're going to say. And then we go through our key points about the topic of the presentation. And these are supported with examples, with arguments, with opinion. Then at the end, we recap in our conclusion what we've said about the topic of the presentation. And then we finish with another bang. Let's look at the body of the presentation. The body needs to be structured into different sections. It might be 1 section, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections, depending on what we want to say. But these sections need to be in the logical order. And the different sections need to be clearly signposted so that the audience knows we've moved on to a new section, for example, or we've finished a section. And within the sections, they need to be structured. So we need to state the topic right at the beginning of the section with something like, now I'm going to talk about my second point, which is, and we tell them what the topic is, what the point is. Then we might say what the actual problem or the issue is. We might say why this is a problem or an issue, say what is to be done, and say why this will help. And that's a logical sequence for a problem solution kind of talk. And different points will have different structures, but they need to be logically organized like this. At the end of our talk, in the conclusion, we need to recap the main points made, and we need to finish with a bang. And then perhaps we'll move on to questions. In the questions section, we need to be able to thank the person for the question. We need to be able to respond to the question if we can, answer the question. Or we might want to deflect the question and not really answer it. and say something like, I can't talk about this at this time, or I think this needs a bit more research before I can answer that question. Or we might want to reflect the question back onto the questioner and say something like, you seem to have thought a lot about this. What's your opinion about it? This is very good for aggressive questions which you don't really want to answer. Let's look at the process of preparing a presentation. You should start by brainstorming ideas, and perhaps you can do this with a colleague or some colleagues in the class. Then you should evaluate the ideas and decide which are good ideas and which are not so good ideas. Again, you can do this with a peer. Then you should draft your script and prepare your slides. And then you should make speaking notes, because you're not going to speak from your script, but you're going to practice speaking from your notes. Then practice with your peer, and then practice with a second peer, asking for feedback on your delivery and on your slides and the content of your presentation from these colleagues. Then you should present in front of an audience or record it and send it to your teacher. Then you should get feedback from the teacher and ideally from the audience as well.